So we're off to a really great NBA season so far. I feel like there's either been like a super entertaining game, a fight, or a player dropping a career performance every night. It's just been super entertaining in multiple ways. And one aspect of the game this year that I really like to follow is how players' stock look to start off the season. So in today's video, I'm going to take 10 or so players and talk about how much their stock has increased this season. So we're talking about a guy that's maybe like around top 50 in discussions going into the year, but maybe is a top 20 guy around the league now. Or somebody was on the outside looking in the top 100, and now we could say they're like a top 50 player in the league. So obviously there's going to be a bunch of players that I'm not going to be able to talk about. So please, if there's somebody I didn't mention, let me know in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed these videos, drop a thumbs up. If we can get 1,000 likes on this video, I will be doing this, but for the NBA players whose stock has dropped the most to start off this season. Also subscribe if you are not already. Going to be dropping NBA content all season long. And without further ado, let's get into this. Also, quick disclaimer, I may be recording this video a few days before this video goes live because I'll be away for the weekend. So that's why some of these stats that I talk about may not be accurate by the time you're seeing this video. Just wanted to give you a heads up. So the first player I am super excited to talk about, I'd say going into the year, he's probably looked at as like around a top 60, 70 guy in the league, but never really mentioned when you're talking about the top guards in the Eastern Conference, and that is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is having a top 15 overall season this year, in my opinion, and has really fully broken out in year 4. I've mentioned this multiple times. He was my most improved pick going into the year, and I couldn't be more proud of that selection so far. Maxey is starting off year 4 with 28.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 7 assists a night, and he's doing it on insane efficiency. 49% from the field, 43% from 3, and shooting 94% from the line. This man has a real opportunity at going 50, 40, 90 this year at the age of 23. The Sixers have been also off to a fantastic start this season, being one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, especially after trading James Harden a few weeks ago. And obviously they have their top guy in Joel Embiid, but last year Maxey was never really looked at as like a top 50 guy in the NBA. He was always looked at as that third or fourth option with Harden and Tobias Harris there. But this year, he's the clear-cut number 2. He could have a season that may be the best season that Joel Embiid has ever played with, and he's also played with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons in his prime, and James Harden. So that would be an incredible feat for Maxey. And at the end of the year, he could be looked at as like an official top 20 guy in the league. This next player gets off to terrible starts every year, it seems like. He's always grouped with players near like the back end of the top 100 when you're talking about just the overall players in the NBA. But he's been off to an incredible start this season, even with dealing some injuries and some migraines as well, and that's RJ Barrett. So I feel like RJ Barrett's public perception has completely taken a 180, that he's been very efficient to start off this year, coming off a strong Team Canada performance last summer. Barrett hasn't played as many games as some of these other guys. Like I mentioned, he was dealing with some injuries to start off the year, but he's giving the Knicks 22.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3 assists a night, shooting 49% from the field, 50% from 3, which really made my jaw drop looking at it because RJ Barrett has never been known to be an elite 3-point shooter, but he's been that to start off this season. And he's also shooting 85% from the line. To give you some context, he's shooting 48% from the field this year. His career high is 44%, shooting 50% from 3. He shot 40% from 3 in 2021. But I think what's crazy, he's shooting 85% from the line, like I just mentioned. His career high was 74% in 2021. So it's looking like we're getting 2021 efficiency RJ Barrett, but also putting up more points per game, better looks. He's finishing inside. He's also been solid on the defensive side of the floor as well. And this could be a huge year 5 for RJ Barrett. And the Knicks desperately need that from him. All right, this next player had all the momentum from Team USA this last summer. He had incredible performance in their round 1 exit against the Nuggets last year, and he's playing like a top 15 guy to start off this season, and that's the Ant-Man Anthony Edwards. I feel like going into this season, Anthony Edwards was really looked at as like around a top 25, top 30 guy in the league, but at the end of this year, the number 1 overall pick from the 2020 draft could be looked at as a consensus top 10 player. The Timberwolves are off to a fantastic start this season, being one of the better teams in the Western Conference, mainly due to Anthony Edwards' play. He's given the Timberwolves 27.5 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists a night on really solid efficiency, 48% from the field, 37% from 3, and 82% from the line. That's great efficiency from a top option who's getting 21 shots a night. So we're seeing the volume, we're seeing the efficiency, we're seeing him step up on the defensive side of the floor as well. He's good in the passing lanes, he's solid on ball, and he's even improving his skill set as a playmaker, averaging a career high in assists per game. And this dude is still only 22 years old. Minnesota got very lucky drafting him, and they've done a fantastic job developing him ever since, and his stock has risen maybe as high as anybody on this list. All right, we're gonna stay with Minnesota. I'm gonna talk about Rudy Gobert next. I don't think there's many fans out there whose favorite player is Rudy Gobert, and after a down year in his first year in Minnesota last year, a lot of fans were quick to dunk on Gobert in his career, calling him a fraud, fraud depoy and saying those don't really count. Really outlandish stuff. But Gobert has been what we've seen from him in Utah this season. He's been the anchor to this Timberwolves defense, which is currently number 1 in the NBA by far at the moment I'm recording this video in terms of defensive rating. And Gobert is averaging 12 points, 13 rebounds, shooting 52% from the field, and is averaging 2.3 blocks per night, which is almost 1 higher from what he did last year in his first year in Minnesota. I said this all the time last year. It was going to take, I think, Gobert a full year to really develop and get acclimated to this Chris Finch system, playing next to Karl-Anthony Towns, somebody he's never really played next to in his time in Utah. And he's been back to the Rudy Gobert of old. And I think in people's eyes, he was maybe not even a top 50 guy going into the league this year. And I think he's right back in the conversations and being a top 30 guy in this league for what he does defensively. If you went back to April of last year, Dillon Brooks may have been everybody's most hated player. He talked a lot of smack on the floor and didn't really back it up in the playoffs. But Dillon Brooks was fantastic for Team Canada in the FIBA World Cup, and he's been off to a fantastic start for the Rockets this season, who are exceeding expectations so far. Ime Udoka deserves a ton of credit for the Rockets going off to a 6-3 start, which, how I mentioned, could change when you guys are seeing this video. But Dillon Brooks has been fantastic, especially shooting the ball this season. He's given the Rockets 14 points, 4 rebounds a night, shooting 55% from the field, 53% from 3, and 84% from the line. That's a 14% increase in field goal percentage from his career average, a 19% increase from his 3-point career average, and a 5% increase on his free throw career average. He's still been a beast defensively, and we'll still see him at times make some funny moments, like when he was staring down LeBron James when they played the Lakers a few weeks ago. But yeah, I think Dillon Brooks was not really looked at as a top 100 guy going into the year, but definitely a top 75 guy so far. Going into this year, when you talked about the 2021 draft class and all the studs they had from it, you would mention Cade, Mobley, Giddey, Franz Wagner, maybe at times Jalen Green as well, but somebody on Jalen Green's team that has really risen his stock to have an argument for being one of the better players in that draft class right now is Alperen Şengün. Man, Şengün has arguably been the best player on the Rockets this season so far, averaging 19.5 points, 8 rebounds a night, and 6 assists from the center. He's shooting 60% overall from the field, and he could just impact the game offensively in just so many ways. Obviously, you'd like him to be a little bit better of a rim protector, but he's definitely made strides on that end of the floor under Ime Udoka this season. And Şengün is still only 21 years old. He's incredibly young, and he's super skilled already in year 3. ESPN this year did not have Derrick White as a top 100 guy in the NBA, which I didn't even get at the time. And I think there's a better argument for Derrick White to be a top 50 player in the NBA. Derrick White has been incredible so far for the Boston Celtics. He was great for them last year down the stretch. This year so far for Boston, he's averaging around 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists a night. He's shooting 47% from the field and 41% from 3, both higher than his career averages. And he's just been a dog defensively. We know he's one of the better point of attack on ball defenders in the league. And this dude is just absolutely everywhere. He's in his defensive prime right now. And my jaw literally drops when I watch him defensively at times, because he just knows when the next pass is going to be made, what step the offensive player he's guarding is going to make first, and it's incredibly tough to outrun him in a half-court set or go backdoor on him. I'm a huge fan of Derrick White, and I think his stock, at least in the public perception, has risen incredibly this season. Last year, Cam Thomas had a few games where he just went absolutely nuclear on the offensive side of the ball, and a lot of us were like, all right, did he just catch lightning in a bottle? Is he really that guy? And he's going to be out 2 weeks with a left ankle sprain, which is very sad to see, but Cam Thomas showed he can be that guy this season so far, where he started off the year averaging 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists a night, shooting 48% from the field, 32% from 3, and 85% from the line. You'd maybe like that 3-point percentage to be a little bit better, but this is still really good efficiency for somebody that was getting out 20 shots a night. And honestly, if you're going to shoot 32% from 3 on 6.5 attempts a night, I will also take that as well. He doesn't even turn the ball over either. He averages around 1 turnover a night, and with somebody with his insane usage rate at 32%, that is incredibly impressive. And Cam Thomas just turned 22 years old last month, and the Nets found somebody that they could build around at the shooting guard position. Before the season started, people may have thought that Jaylen Johnson could be like a fringe starter one day, and I think he's turned himself into somebody that could be untouchable in like a Pascal Siakam trade, for example. Johnson is off to an incredible start this season in year 3 at still just the age of 21 years old. He was the 20th overall pick in the 2021 draft. He had a lot of up and downs at Duke the year prior, so a lot of people knew that he was going to be a project player, and he wasn't going to be good right away. And he's really taking advantage of the John Collins trade this past offseason, seeing his points per game jump almost 10 a night. His rebounds have also doubled, as well as his assists, and he's been very efficient also. Almost 60% from the field, almost 40% from 3 as well, which is incredibly impressive from somebody entering their year 3 season and only put in around 15 minutes a night last year. And like I just mentioned, Jaylen Johnson could be untouchable in trades now and looks like a real building block for the Hawks right now, this season, and going forward. And lastly, I want to talk about somebody that was in conversation for being the best point guard in the Eastern Conference entering this year, and is arguably having a top 5 season so far, and that's Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, what can you not say about Tyrese Halliburton, man? So far to start off this season, he's averaging just under 25 points per game, 4 assists, and 12.5 assists a night on insane efficiency. 50-40-90 right now, 53% from the field, 43% from 3, and 93% from the line. The Indiana Pacers are currently the 3 seed at the moment I'm recording this video, and this team would not be that good if it weren't for Halliburton. He's made the lives of so many guys on this Pacers team who are having career years so much easier. Guys like Jalen Smith, Obi Toppin, Aaron Nesmith. Halliburton just makes your team better overall. He's a really good defender, and in the last 2 games I'm recording this video, he scored 58 points, has had 32 assists, and guess how many turnovers? Well, if you guessed 0, you would be correct. He impacts the floor in so many different ways, and I think we talked about him as maybe a top 40, maybe a top 30 guy going into the year. I think at the end of the season, we can make an argument that he's a top 10 player in the NBA. So yeah, that is gonna be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said in the beginning of the video, let me know players this season whose stock has risen exponentially. Guys like PJ Washington I didn't mention, or Jalen Smith, Marjon Beauchamp, Scotty Brooks, Shaedon Sharpe. Obviously, there's a ton of guys that I could have mentioned, so please let me know in the comments below. Drop a like if you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.